This is going to be a good one. Hope everybody's doing good. I hope you're doing great. Let's just make sure this stream is live. And we hit the public button so we can go. Hey. Drink don't need no mix. Yeah, I need more than this. Hey. Let's see. Type to everybody. To everybody to welcome. Yes, sir. Drink don't need no mix. You're running more than this. All right, let's get into this.
Why is it rude to say to someone, you guys are getting along, you're in love, you're having fun? Why do you want to get the government involved? What most people call love today was something that was invented in the 50s to sell shampoo. Wow. All three of you have.
That's crazy. If that's true, then that's beyond crazy. Wait, then again, what was that tactic like? Like, what was the tactic between getting somebody to get married to sell shampoo? Nah, he gonna have to explain that one.
A prenup. The government wrote it. You think that's a good idea? Wow. You ever been to the DMV? Yeah. You ever walk into the DMV and go, these people should be in charge of everything?
You are pro-marriage, you're just anti-marriage without a prenup.
People want to do dumb shit. Jump out of planes. Like, I don't care. Yeah. You want to do some dumb shit? Do some dumb shit. Yeah. Just admit you're doing some dumb shit.
What is your craziest divorce that you
Well, I shouldn't say this in public, but I will. Her husband ran her over 3 times and stabbed her 16 times.
When men get to a point of no return, it gets extremely lethal. Like, that's crazy that he did that to her. No human being should ever have to deal with something like that. That's wild. The guy ran her over. How emotional? This is why they said men shouldn't be emotional. How emotional do you have to be to get inside your car? I don't know what he was playing inside there. If it was Tupac or something. And then say, you know what? I'm going to run my wife over and use a knife on her. Because somehow, some way, that was going to end up good for me down the line. That is some real passion. When guys love, they mean that. Because there's like death do us part. He took that literally.
Who's the worst in divorce? Culturally, ethnically, racially?
So, look, sometimes stereotypes are a real time saver. Let's just call that out.
Wait. Who y'all think is the worst in divorce? Is it black people, white people, Asians? What? Asians barely get married. I mean, barely get divorced, right? They mostly married. So, black people barely get married. It got to be whoever's in the middle. It got to be whoever's in the middle.
Like Russian women, in my experience professionally, they get ice cold. When you're married to a Russian woman, there's nothing she won't do for you. And when you're divorcing a Russian woman, there is nothing she won't do to you. Like, she will your shit right up.
Is there anything that you've learned through all these divorces about what makes marriages successful?
I've learned a lot by being a divorce lawyer about what keeps people together. What I've learned, I would say more than anything else, is just pay attention. People get divorced the same way they go bankrupt. Very slowly, and then all at once.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Flagrant. And today's guest, I just want to point out, was not suggested by any of the people.
It's true, Vince. Men can only deal with so much, my brother. That's true. Women know how to take it to that. Listen, I agree with you. I think women don't understand a man's anger and a man's passion and a man's love. They look at it like it's a woman's love. Women could come and go. They say biologically women are tied to do that. They say biologically women are allowed to just adapt. It's kind of like the new lion coming into the pack, killing the old lion, killing all the cubs and taking all the women. Like, they have to learn how to adapt. Think about it. Even other places in the world, when the tribes come and they fight, they end all the fighting age men, and then they take their women over there to be slaves or whatever it is. And now those women are a part of that, camp over there. So yeah, it can get real when it comes to men, brother. Everything is good, my brother. Everything is good. I appreciate you for being in here.
people that were sitting here. Okay, we're all happily married or in great relationships, and none of us would suggest such a guest. Okay, a prolific guest, mind you. Okay, we got Jim Sexton here, the world's most murderous divorce attorney.
Wow. That's going on the website. All right, that was most murderous divorce attorney, Andrew Schultz of Netflix fame.
Yeah.
Wow,
No.
that's really, yeah.
Obviously, you're incredibly successful. We've seen a bunch of the content that you've put up out on the internet, like mostly interviews that you've done. It's kind of interesting because you've been this divorce attorney for decades, and now you have like a public profile about your job.
So bizarre.
Yes.
So bizarre. I can't actually stand still anywhere in New York City
'Cause people know
without
you.
someone coming up going, "You're that divorce lawyer," you know. And the problem is when you do, like if you're going to be known for a viral clip, don't be wearing the same outfit you wear every fucking
That's a
day.
good
like
fucking
Batman.
point. I didn't even think
Because
about
there's
that.
no way to cam. It's like your mustache. Like, like, if you shave that shit, you could probably get away with it for a few days.
anywhere.
Yeah, you could blend right in.
This guy, if he doesn't look like a mob boss, but it's true, he dressed like a cartoon goddamn character, and you wear them suits, the same looking tie every single day, you look like that cartoon character. Like if I see somebody in some green pants and a white shirt and they're fat, I'm like Peter Griffin immediately. You could think anybody, any cartoon character, if you see it over and over, you're gonna be like, yeah, that's him. This outfit, he looks like a mob boss for sure, like a real Italian. And his legs is full, tightly too. That means he means business.
But
Maybe that's what I'm planning.
Without that, that's what you got to do.
When I
You want
need
to
to
take
get
a
out.
week or two off and just get that right out. That's
So,
the advice.
are
Free right
you
there.
the new Salino and Barnes for us New Yorkers?
Wow. Am I both? I could be both Salino and Barnes.
Of course.
Man, that's a high.
They had a bad breakup. Did you work on that divorce?
Get out of myself. Yeah. You know, it's
That's a deep cut New York reference. I just want to let you know.
that is,
These
yeah.
were like iconic New York lawyers, and it was like one of the
Right, man. Finn, he looks just like he look like an expensive hitman.
first like call lines for law advice, right?
Yeah.
Like 1-800-888-8888.
Yeah.
Did that exist?
Salino
And they
and
had the most
Injury insurance. Oh, yeah.
1-800-888-8888. There was a lot of eights.
And then they had the most brutal breakup, like epic
heard
level
about
breakup.
this,
But
yes.
then what's his? He
One of them died in a
One
plane
which
crash.
is like, you know, here you go. Like you finish this
crash.
brutal hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees trying to get away from each other, and then one of you dies. It's
Yeah.
like, fuck.
I never knew that one of them died. Oh, that's the reason why it's split. Oh, I didn't know that. I ain't know one of them died. That's wild.
That's pretty lucky for you.
Yeah, another guy. He was like, shit, I could have saved some counsel.
How many people just kill their wife instead of divorcing them?
Surprising number of people killed.
Have you ever been involved in one of those
I've
cases?
never had one where someone was killed. I did have a client who her husband or estranged husband, now ex-husband, ran her over 3 times and stabbed her 16 times.
God, the type of anger you need to do that to a person 16 times is wild. Like, you have to be dead inside. You have to be on some major drugs. I don't think any sober-minded person could do something like that. That is just wild. And the fact that you used vehicular, you tried to do vehicular homicide first, and then it was like, all right, that didn't work. And the fact that he can say that, that means she lived through that. So, and then you do a poor job. You're not even a good hitman at that. You should have hired this guy.
During the divorce?
During the divorce, and she survived. Like, this guy couldn't even get that shit right. Like,
Right.
stabbed someone 16 times, run him over 3 times, and she's alive to tell the tale, and he's in fucking prison.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she got 100% in the end, probably.
She got 100%. She also had to get like another kidney and some other things. So she lost out.
Probably could afford that on the
long-term,
black
but
market.
yeah, I mean, with the amount of money, yeah, she did all right. Yeah.
Now, what role do you play in that?
I wasn't like the lookout, if that's what you mean. Like, I was like,
Meaning,
there she is. You know, like,
Meaning, like, how much pressure were you putting on him where he just goes, I gotta kill her?
a lot. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, when you're
Now I'm wondering if look, that need some backstory. I'm wondering if she tried to divorce him first, and then, you know, this guy put an immense amount of pressure on this guy, and he was like, F it. I'd rather be in jail for the rest of my life than lose everything to this woman while she goes and lays up with another man. Still wrong, but I would love to know what was in this guy's mindset.
dealing with like high net worth and ultra high net worth divorces.
What is high net worth? Just
So
we
high net
understand.
worth is generally defined as a divorce where the estate is more than $10 million.
Got it.
Ultra high net worth is over $100 million.
Got it.
So it's a different level in some ways because you're fighting over bigger numbers. It's harder to track the values. A lot of the stuff that people do for like wealth preservation and tax avoidance,
Yeah.
like super, super rich people don't own anything.
Anything. Yeah. it's interesting.
They have trusts that own LLCs
Yeah.
that are beneficiaries of, and
Yeah.
they're like great grandchildren that haven't been born yet own everything, and they just borrow it from them.
Yeah.
Like,
See, and that's something that we got to do. Vin, you are 100% correct. Vin says the best hitman is someone you would never expected to be a hitman. Yeah, it's true. I think you would. Well, you would expect the husband, right? At least. But if you was expecting somebody to be a hitman, you got to get a grandma. That's what you got to get. So when we watch these movies and you seen the cleanup lady, it'd be like this old guy. If you ever seen Blacklist, it's like that. Like whoever he hired to torture those people is like a dude on a breathing machine that's fat and pudgy and overweight. It'd be like the weirdest people. That's the ones that you want to hire for your hitman because nobody would ever expect them for sure. But it is crazy how rich people and poor people do things, right? Rich people make sure they secure their assets. As people say, get married, get married, get married. Get married, and you putting all your assets on the line. A lot of these rich people have their stuff hidden or in something to the point that you really can't get it because they're not the beneficiary of it. What was he? Was it Cristiano Ronaldo? Who was I don't know, he was a sports player, and his wife was older than him by like 10 years or something like that. And she tried to divorce him. And when she tried to divorce him, she didn't know that he put everything in his mother's name. I forgot what he was. He had like a Muslim mother. And the mother made him put everything in her name. So when she was divorcing him thinking she about to catch a good come up, she got a rude goddamn awakening. Because he ain't got nothing. Because everything was in his mother's name. Stupid. You stupid.
So that's why they pay like less in taxes than a guy who works at Burger King.
Right. Yeah.
So it's unbelievable.
Because they're not actually generating income.
No.
And you only pay tax on income. I guess you can pay capital gains too. But like,
not if you do it the right way. So what happens is these people pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to accountants and tax attorneys to make sure they don't have to pay taxes. But they don't anticipate that when they get divorced, this is just going to blow up in your face.
Wait, why? Why is it?
Because it makes it so complicated to figure out where is the money, what is marital, what is outside the scope of the marital estate, what can the judge get their hands on, what can't they get their hands on. So it becomes a really, really tricky, messy thing.
Isn't that something that you would want though? Wouldn't you want it to be hard for everybody else? I don't know if it was a UFC fighter, man. I think it could be a UFC fighter. I'm really thinking like, is it like a soccer player, or if it's like it's somebody. Now it's gonna burn me, man. It's a soccer player. Lose the voice. It's him, this guy. Who is this? Yeah, he's a soccer player. It was this guy. Whoever he is, he put all the properties and everything in his mother's name. What's his name? Anybody know his name? Because I don't have no clue what his name is. But whoever he was, damn, this crazy part. I know the dude. That's the crazy part. I just can't think of it. That's his name? Whatever it was. But yeah, she tried to take his money. Hakimi, that's his name. Whatever his name is, yeah, Hakimi. Yeah, she tried to get that money out of him, and she had a rude awakening. Stupid. And that's another thing when they say, like, rich people don't pay their taxes. I'm like, yeah, because they don't really generate income. They don't really care. Gotcha. You would have thought.
you prefer the ultra high net worth clients, those cases?
I mean, they pay their bill on time, which is nice.
But outside of payment, like, is it just more stressful? Is it more grueling? Is it?
I'm very blessed. I'm at the place in my career now where I have high net worth and ultra high net worth clients, and you can have a smaller number of clients who you give a lot more personalized attention to.
Yeah.
Because anybody who's at like a certain level of net worth, they are used to being waited on, and they're used to their professionals. Like they've not romanticized a lawyer. Like they know lots of lawyers, so they look at lawyers like you'd look at like a plumber. Like there's a lot of people that do this. You work for me, and they're used to. So you have to give them a certain level of attention, but unlike a plumber, like you do get to yell at them. Like you do get, like, sometimes that's what they want.
This is interesting. Yeah, you're almost like an authority figure, even though you are. Even though they're hiring you. That's really, it's like there's few positions where you're subservient to the person you're hiring. Like a trainer is one of them. Like your trainer can yell at you, tell you you're being lazy, get your ass together, stop eating this shit. There's lawyer, and then maybe like doctor.
Yeah, I mean, the two people you should never lie to are your doctor and your lawyer. Because like everything you tell us, every single thing you tell us is protected by privilege, and there's absolutely our only job to protect you.
How do you do that in the beginning? So you're sitting down with somebody and you could tell they're being a little fugazi about the information?
That is 100%. You don't lie to your doctor, you don't lie to your lawyer. I've been in situations of both. I'm an intern in a bunch of hospitals, and when you go in there and you're like with a patient, when the doctor is with a patient, we can smell like BS, right? But it's people that just do weird things, but ultimately, you're going to have to tell the truth, right? Because that's the only way they can help you if you tell them the truth. You can't tell somebody, you got a headache, but really your box and your joint is on fire. You got firewood, like you went spent the night at the Diddler house. You got firewood and you want to come in and act like you just want a headache, and then when they give you a Tylenol, you still leave out there burning, then it's only on you. Same thing with lawyers. Lawyers need to know every single angle that they can possibly come from. So if you tell them something, they can fix the angle to try to combat it. It's kind of like knowing where the punch is coming from so I can learn how to counter it. And if you lie to them too, you just stupid. You kind of just begging for it.
Yeah. How do you just go, dude, you're going to screw yourself if you don't tell
Yo, Vin, I appreciate you for being here, man. I see you later. Sub. That's good.
me where the
Hit the like
fucking
button
bodies
before
are
you go.
buried?
I literally say that.
Okay.
I mean, I don't pull any punches on it.
Yeah.
Like I very much. But what I usually will say to them, just to kind of like take it to a place that they can understand, is I'll say, look, I just want at the beginning of this relationship, I want you to understand, I represent people who've been victims of domestic violence. Yeah. I represent perpetrators of domestic violence. Oof. I represent people who are, by any objective standard, amazing parents, and I represent people who just want to put the kids in the middle for leverage for child support purposes.
Damn.
And I am no one's moral compass. I'm a weapon. And a weapon in the hands of a hero, right, is going to protect people.
Yeah.
And a weapon in the hands of the villain is going to cause chaos. But the weapon is kind of neutral, right?
Who's the worst person you've defended?
Yeah, but right before, that's crazy. Like, could you trust the lawyer then? Like, these people, like, that's like so immoral that imagine, yeah, that's probably why I couldn't never did a lawyer, because you have to defend both sides. Imagine, I can understand doing whatever in your power to help a child that was taken advantage of by an adult. I can get that. But now you have to go and defend the adult that was taking advantage of I don't have that dog in me. I don't know if y'all got that dog in y'all.
Who I mean, obviously, a lot of my clients, I can't disclose who they are, except
Not in actual. What did they do?
Yeah.
What did they
What was
do?
it?
Oh, I've represented people who are, by any objective metric, are malignant narcissists. I mean, so unfortunately, the traits that make people very successful, particularly in high finance, which is what New York is really like.
Yeah.
My colleague Laura Wasser is in LA. She represents like every celebrity you've ever seen.
Yeah.
I represent a lot of people in finance
different
who
type of
could buy those celebrities 10 times over, but would walk past you on the street, you never know who they were.
Do you represent any current or former presidents? by any chance?
No presidents yet. Yeah, no presidents yet. They all seem to keep it together right now.
they're not-
Clinton, I got my fingers crossed. Who knows?
Obama, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, real quick, because I don't want to get away from that. The reason why I was asking that question, like the worst person you've represented, like talking to you even before, you don't seem like a sociopath. Like you seem like, and even watching videos of you, like you seem like quite like empathetic. You have a lot of emotion, right? I've seen you get like sensitive in interviews for sure. So I understand, and there's a lot of times this happens with like defense attorneys.
Yeah.
You go, how could you represent this person?
It's a great question.
So you're representing sometimes scumbags.
Awful people, awful people.
Is there ever a moment where you're like, I can't fight for this guy?
No, because
real quick, just a caveat. This guy abuses his kids, or this woman abuses her kids, and by fighting for custody, I'm enabling the abuse of those kids.
Yeah. So you have that thought. Like so first of all, yes, I'm a sensitive person. I don't think I could do this job well if I wasn't. Because to do this job well, it's just like, I think it's like being a comic. I think you have to have a sensitivity. You have to be able to read what's going on with this 100%. Audience, and you have to know what's working, what's not, and be able to shift, right? So it's the same exact thing. It's just my audience is a judge. So, and I'm really here, like our job's the same. We're here to manipulate people's emotional states. That's our job. Like your job is to manipulate people. You want them to laugh, relax, and enjoy. I want the other side to be scared. I want my client to feel safe. I want the judge to like my client and hate the other side. So I'm here.
That's crazy. That's literally just manipulation. So you sit in there, you just, like, your whole job is just to manipulate people. That's wild. I don't know how you can sleep at night, like, with a clear head. I guess the money.
You're just manipulating everybody's emotional state. And to do that well, I have to be very open, receptive, empathetic, and sensitive.
Got it.
The downside of that is, I'm sensitive. I'm
feeling all
empathetic.
that
I feel a lot.
shit.
I represent the client, but I also represent the system. And I don't always believe in the client, but I believe in the system.
Give me an example of that where those.
I was talking about it on Mark's show some time ago when I represented a guy who was a pimp, like literally a pimp. That was his job. Like he actually was, he had he's in federal prison now for guns, but he was an atrocious.
You are a pimp. And the crime you go to jail for is a gun. Where was the hose to carry the goddamn gun? Why would you?
That's stupid. Use your common sense.
You went to jail for a gun and you're a pimp. And you're a known pimp, obviously. So that's just weird. And you got caught for the wrong thing. How stupid are you?
Human being. He was an abuser. And I was up against an adversary who was an unskilled attorney and very, like, it was all this woman could afford. Oof. And I absolutely ran her over. Mm-hmm. And we walked out of court, and the guy pat me on the back, and he said, "Man, one good lawyer is worth 20 stick-up men."
Robbie, thanks for the follow. I appreciate that. Brothers, give you them one follow from Robbie, man. I appreciate that.
And I just remember thinking, like, I want to go home and just take a shower right now because that just feels dirty.
crazy.
But
So you do have that. I've always wondered if lawyers had that feeling.
Of course.
And then,
yeah.
and then can you compartmentalize that?
I think you have
and move
to.
on.
I think you have to because, look, what I'll tell you is the truth has a way of coming out. Sometimes, despite my best efforts.
Meaning
the
that guy ends up in federal prison.
well, that's what ended up happening with that guy.
Yeah.
He ended up in federal prison. I mean, I think the truth has a way of coming out. I have to tell my clients that sometimes. Like, look, I can throw up a lot of smoke and mirrors, but shit comes out. Like, the truth comes out.
I have so many questions. I'm sure everybody else does, but very exciting. Okay, so there's this thing with lawyers where, like, a lot of times our engagement with lawyers is usually during maybe the worst times in our lives.
Sure.
Right. So the connectivity that we have with lawyers is like, it's pretty abysmal, right?
Yeah.
But when you need help and a lawyer is helping you, they're heroic, as you just said.
yeah.
And you've seen like TV shows that talk about, like, Lincoln Lawyer was a great movie with McConaughey. Now they have this TV show where the lawyer is protecting the innocent that are wrongfully accused, et cetera. Like, you've seen it with Joe Pesci and
My Cousin Vinny.
My Cousin Vinny and that kind of stuff.
Suits.
Are there ever moments where you get to be the hero?
Yeah.
And what does that feel like?
That feels amazing. That's intoxicating.
Give me an example of, like, somebody who you protected. It was like a woman who was being
Yeah, I'll give you a
abused,
great
kids.
one. I'll give you a great one. I'm a dog person. I love dogs.
Yeah.
So I had a woman come in and she said to me, described this situation of, like, coercive control, domestic violence she'd been in for ages. And this guy was controlling, abusive in the worst possible ways, like insidious ways, but also was an incredibly charming narcissist. So, like, no one would ever suspect. Like, if you said to anybody, this guy was an abuser, they'd be like, him? He's the nicest guy. Are you kidding me?
Right.
And she told me her story. She said,
Wait, is it true that he is just the nicest guy? Because that's his client, right? So he's on the woman's side at this point. Is it true that he was, like, so duper abusive and all this extra stuff and just a really nice guy? Or he was just a really nice guy that just ended up putting his foot down? We need both sides of that story, to be honest. I guess those people do exist, but they're not in mass. So that just threw me off a little bit.
afraid nobody's going to believe me. He said to me, no one will ever believe you. You know, I'll make sure you're penniless. I'll do whatever I have to do to, like, crush you.
Damn.
And I'm listening to this, and I've handled a lot of domestic violence cases before. So I was like, okay, look, the system has a way of sorting these things out, and let's talk about what we can prove and what we can't. And she said, you know, I have something. She said, we have a puppy. We have a 6-month-old black lab puppy. And the Ring camera of our doorbell caught him just beating the shit out of this 6-month-old puppy. And I was like, and you have that footage? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, like, give me everything you have and I'll take a look. And I sat there that night and I watched this footage. And as a dog lover, like, I was shaking. Yeah. I mean, it was to listen to it, to hear it, like, to watch this guy just beating this puppy.
Yeah,
and the puppy, like, is a puppy, its tail's wagging, it's trying to, like, kind of get away from him, and, like, it doesn't understand what's going on.
Christ.
And I just remember looking at it and thinking, like, I'm gonna torture this fucking guy to death. And I called her the next day and I said, I'll take your case. And she was like, well, I'm worried I can't afford you. I'm like, I'll cut my hourly rate in half. I was like, I just want a piece of this fucking guy.
No promote.
I need to figure out that's how you get a lawyer. If you ever want a lawyer, you got to figure out what he likes and what he loves. That's how you get a discount. Jesus.
He ain't kill the dog. Dog's all right. Yeah, dogs forget. I gotta eat. Oh, no.
Okay. All right. So how did you torture
I'm
him?
sorry, that just shook me a little bit. It's worse than the memory of the dog video. For free. Yeah, free. God, Jesus. I cut my rate in half. God. That's impressive. That's only like $500. I mean, that's pretty good. So I took on the case, and it was like a professional hit. Like, I got this guy thrown out of his house. It happened to get assigned to a judge who I knew likes dogs, who had a court attorney who I knew likes dogs.
Crazy.
So I just made a meal out of this,
That's
like, you wouldn't
great.
believe. And I actually, when I got to the courthouse, I shouldn't say this in public, but I will. I'm close enough to retirement, I can get away with it. I actually went up to the court officers who are, the security for the building. They're armed, And I said to him, by the way, this is, because I had mentioned that there was this case coming in where I had video of this guy beating the dog. And you ever want to see, like, people's vindictive side come out? Tell them somebody beat up a puppy. Like, I have to tell you, people, like, a little old lady would be like, kill the motherfucker. Like, So I said to the court officer, I said, listen, I said, this case is in today. They said, oh, that guy's today? I said, yeah. I said, and by the way, I said, if he and I ended up in the restroom at the same time together, he started whatever fight happened. And they were like, absolutely. In fact, we heard him shouting at me. I was like, thanks, man, and
Ain't that
sure enough,
crazy? That's crazy because his case had nothing. Let's say he is a bad person. You kicking puppies, you're just a bad person, right? But let's just say his case had nothing to do with him, kicking a puppy, right? So that don't mean that she's telling the truth. That just means he likes to kick puppies. But then again, if I have a bias because I like puppies, then he gotta go to jail, right? So it's like, technically, even though you won that, is it true that he actually did what she was claiming he actually did? Probably not, but He kicked the puppy, so he get it. It's over for him. We kicking puppies.
That was a case where that single piece of evidence
Yeah.
was able to just neutralize his ability to go in and be a
charm
charming
and-
person.
Because you saw the real side of him that he talked about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the more he went in trying to be charming, as opposed to saying like,
The more psycho he looks.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the more
So-
foolish
so
he
it
is,
felt- that felt
sometimes
right.
you see a person, and you can see it in smaller examples, but that's such a crystal clear example of like, oh, everything you say is bullshit. This is you. This
Right,
is you, and
right.
everything she says, I'm gonna believe.
well, and that's
'cause now I'm
exactly
seeing
what you
behind
say to the
closed
judge.
doors.
Because I said to the judge, I'm like, no, judge, for every cockroach you see, there's 50 in the walls. Like, we caught this on video.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
how
yeah,
many
this
other
isn't the
times
only
did this
time he's done
happen?
something.
How many other times? Like, when was the camera not rolling in the last?
And
The
for
next
the
time
red
I'm in
cam to catch
court,
it.
it'll be another cockroach. So just for my case specifically.
That's like when Diddy did the apology video, but then the hotel video came out and was like, we looked at that apology video as such bullshit.
Yeah, you're a psycho.
Yeah.
And this is in the lobby of the hotel. That's in the entrance of the house. We're not seeing what's actually happening behind closed doors.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That is 100% true. And then with the Diddy situation, when Diddy apologized, everybody was like, dude, like, you know when you just spewing bullshit out your mouth. You're not even really sorry. And the fact that nobody came to defend Diddy at all, like even his friends would be like, yeah, you know, he had this rage at this time, but he changed. Nobody said nothing throughout the whole Diddy situation. So you know, he was doing something.
Perpetrators of domestic violence are, in my experience, like they're charming. Like, how else would they get victims?
Yeah.
Like the way there are
Yeah.
people that are great at love bombing. They're great at like convincing a person that, oh my God, I would never hurt you. I care so
Yeah.
much about you. And then when something happens, doing the whole like, I'm so sorry that happens. I love you so much. It'll never happen again.
It's really interesting because a lot of times when they're portrayed in like TV or film, there are these like drunken asshole scumbags.
no way.
But there was that show, I don't know if it was Pretty Little Liars or something, not Pretty Little Liars, the one that takes place in Silicon Valley. It had Nicole Kidman.
I know what you're talking
Big
about.
Little Lies.
Big Little
Big Little
Lies.
Yeah.
The husband of Nicole Kidman
Exactly right.
was an abuser.
And was a great portrayal of what they're
what they
like.
actually are
yeah,
like.
Yeah, good looking, charming, successful.
Great with the kids, like all these
because
things.
a lot of that like adjustment personality disorder, that like sociopath behavior, that ability to sort of blend into your circumstances, it makes people very effective in their professional lives because they can just go into whatever setting and be whoever they need to be in that setting.
mean, yeah.
But in their home life, it turns into something that, that's chaos when you have to deal with those DV cases.
I'm not going to say who because it's not worth it, but we all know that at my wedding, the guy gave a speech, leveled the room, so funny, so charming, and then behind closed doors, it's just like, oh, this is a monster. It's a whole different human being.
Yeah.
You thought my speech was funny?
That's funny you think we're that close.
I'm going to be like this now with Mark.
All right, guys, you also got to buy tickets. First of all, Columbus, Ohio.
Not today,
Suck
brother.
his dick, mine.
Hey,
going
yo.
to Charles.
are going to use in court has to be shared with.
Progressively, and you start to look at their text messages. And,
Yeah.
when I'm, sitting, my client's next to me, and I realize like, oh shit, I've got the villain. Okay, all right, like that was not great. Because it's not surprising. Like when people tell you the story of their life, they're usually the fucking hero of the story. Like rarely do they come in and go, listen, I'm all fucked up. It's one of the few things that like stand-ups I think do very well. Is they come in and just go, I'm so fucked up. Whereas most people come in and just go like, oh, listen, I'm wonderful, I'm great, and then you sort of learn progressively, and you start to look at their text messages, and also, there's like human growth too, like who you were 10 years ago and who you are now. I had a client once who was a custody case about like a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
And when the woman was pregnant, when the mother was pregnant, so 11 years earlier, he had sent her all these text messages saying, because they'd been dating for like 2 months, like, you need to get an abortion, I don't want this baby, if you have this baby, I want nothing to do with it, And of course, he'd been for 10 years a phenomenal father, loves this. And the other side, in our exchange of discovery, you have to like, share all your ammunition in advance, because it's not supposed to be trial by surprise. They sent me these text messages.
Real quick, so everybody understands that, is that like all the information that both lawyers are going to use in court has to be shared with both lawyers.
Exactly right.
So no lawyer is going, but you didn't see this text.
Exactly right. So
That's
anything
what-
you're going to put in, like photographs, audio recordings, video, you have to exchange it in advance. So
that's called discovery?
It's called discovery.
That discovery, they could still lie on that. Ain't that crazy? Because back in my backsliding days, I used to get in trouble a lot. And then like they'll take like, even like, I had like investigations, all kind of foolishness going on in my life. And they like took pictures. Now we can see the pictures, but the picture was not manipulated, not like they did anything to it, but you can make one thing look like another thing. And that thing could have been like, this is like a water bottle, right? Let's just say if they wanted to get me on some substance and it's usually held in this clear alike, right? Although this is clearly a water bottle and I was actually drinking out of a water bottle when they got me, they would take a picture of this and say, look, he even had it in water bottles by his bed. He was about to do X, Y, and Z with it. Although we all know it's not It's not what they think it was. It's just regular water. So they'll do things like that and they can still manipulate it, although it's not supposed to be by surprise. Like you can't just come and be like, oh, look, I got the weapon right here. We never had it before. And the person is, shocked. They have to have time to defend themselves. So, but they can still manipulate it. These lawyers are really, 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 really tricky and sneaky.
Yeah, and it's a process where it's meant so that everyone has the opportunity to like review something, make sure it's authentic, have it reviewed by experts if they need to, and also
have a
prepare
rebuttal
their case.
and-
Prepare their case as best they can. You're not allowed to like trial by surprise. Like, did you order the code red?
Yeah.
It doesn't really work that way.
Right.
Like what you have to do is you have to exchange the stuff.
Yeah.
So they'd sent these text messages, and my attitude was, okay, we got to get in front of this. Like we got to like Eminem 8 Mile final rap battle this. Like I got to go in and like cover this and be like, not tell these people something they don't know about him. Like I got to do something with it.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what I did. I put him on the stand and I said, you see these text messages. Did you send these texts? He said, yeah. And I said, is that how you felt at the time? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, how do you feel when you read those text messages now? And this guy legitimately started crying on the witness stand. He was like, I'm so mad at myself.
Yeah.
He's like, and I'm so horrified. And I'm so, like, if she'd listened to me, I wouldn't have my son. Like, and he's like, but I know I was like just stupid and scared.
Yeah.
And I'm watching opposing counsel just crossing out whole pages of the cross-examination because we got in front of it, But that is like what happens.
And that's also like a more human, relatable moment. Like it is terrifying. I imagine when somebody gets somebody pregnant and they're not aware of it, they don't know what to do, and that's this knee-jerk reaction, and you sound horrible. And then you have 10 years with the most amazing thing you've ever created, and you are just so embarrassed that you could have made one flippant decision that eliminated those 10 years.
Well, and that's why when people say like representing good people and bad, like if only we could just put people in boxes of good people and bad people and just separate them. But like the line of good and evil runs right through the human heart. So I think at the end of the day, what you have to say, like, if I judge your husband being a husband, your ability to be a husband by your best moment as a husband, you're a phenomenal husband. If I look at the worst moment you've ever had as a husband, and that's the totality of you. But that's not how it works. You kind of have to average it out.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing too, because I imagine in divorce or in an argument or in anything, the only thing that we're focusing on are the worst moments of that person's life. So I'm sure the husbands and the wife in those circumstances are just judging them by the most horrible things that they've done, when in reality, there's probably amazing memories. I'm not talking about domestic violence people. I'm talking about people that had a marriage and then it became loveless and they're like, let's separate, and now it gets contentious over kids or assets. 100%. But again, you're just focusing on these horrible things. Not a beautiful vacation you guys went to, not a great time you guys cooked dinner together, the laughs. And again, maybe this doesn't make you enough money, but is there ever a moment like in divorce where both lawyers are going, hey, should we try? These people don't hate each other. Nobody did something heinous. How can we not prolong this?
Yeah.
Do you guys do that at all?
100%. The best of us absolutely do that. Like this is like you live and die by reputation in this business. And if you're the kind of person that just exacerbates conflict, you don't last long in this business.
Because why? It looks like you're just trying to milk it, and then the lawyers get rich and everybody else.
Yeah, and your client leaves with a really bad taste in their mouth because they see that you're just amplifying. Like my job very often is to protect people from the part of themselves that's feeling brokenhearted and vindictive.
Oh, so
like people come in and they're like, I caught him fucking his secretary. I want to rip his nuts off. I want to kill him. And my job is to go, look, you have every right to feel the way that you feel. But let's focus on the issues right now. Like you're going to have grandkids with this person someday. You're stuck with him.
You're going to see him for the rest of your life.
That is super true. And everything that he just said, keep in mind that married people usually just be around married people. So if they're getting divorced and you can handle a divorce in one person's side, then maybe their friend later on to get a divorce, guess who they're going to recommend? You getting all that money. So all that money just compound. It's like compound interest for you. So it's better not to be a piece of shit.
No matter what.
Like I have an ex-wife. Trust me, I gotta sit next to her at graduations. I gotta sit next to her. It's what you do. So you have to learn how to interact with this person, and you try to say to them, look, most people. The good news is most people love their kids more than they hate their ex. Like most people's love for their children is the most powerful thing they have. I mean, I know we've got two relatively new fathers here. So I mean, the truth is that is a powerful emotion that very often will make you put down a lot of other stuff.
Or it make you pick up a whole bunch of other stuff. That's the reason why men get dragged through the child support system. Dumb kids, just for your love for your kids, will make you want to torture the other person because you know they had love for their kids. You realize when it comes to the child support court, which is usually the women is in favor for that, when it comes to that, if the man doesn't want to take care of his kid and he just like a bad dude and he just like F them kids and he just move on, then she chases him. So he can go take care of the kids. This is your babies, X, Y, and Z, get this child support. When a man does want to take care of his kids, the good dudes, they're the ones that say, oh, no, you cannot see your kid, whatever it is, because it's based on the attachment of the father. If the father wants to see the kid and she's feeling vindictive, then she's going to be like, you can't see your kid. If the father doesn't want to see the kid and she's feeling vindictive, then she's like, you need to come see this kid. So whatever which way. So the same way they could put it down to, make amends so they can have a nice divorce or whatever it is the same way they could start picking up the weapons to use it against each other in a court.
And so it really turns into something where our job is to try to bring out the angels of people's better nature. So I always tell clients, like, in a negotiating table in a courtroom, I'm a weapon. My job is to just go at a person and attack and do that.
But before you get
when
there,
the door is closed,
Yeah.
it's me and my whole thing is, look, I'd rather you pay her than pay me. Like, stand down. Like, let's not do this. Put your kids through college, not mine. Like, let's figure out how to do this the right way. If I get a sense when I do a consult with somebody that they have any chance that they could go to a mediator instead of using lawyers and they could sit, I'll send them right to a mediator. I probably send 2-3 cases a week to mediators.
is that what is like the process?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of paths up the mountain, but the ideal process is 2 people sit down and they map out, what do you want to do with the kids? What's going to make sense? Like, well, you work this night, I work this night, so you'll have the kids this night or that night. I mean, ideally, people could sit down at the kitchen table with a piece of paper and just map it out. But second best is you go to a mediator. That's a person who's usually an attorney or an accountant who's trained, who knows what issues to talk about. Yeah. And they walk through it with you and they'll say, all right, here's the things we have to decide. And they don't represent either person, they represent both people in a sense. Yeah. The next step from that is you get 2 attorneys that work collaboratively, that just don't come at each other, don't try to vilify either side, and just try to work, come up with identifying assets, valuing them and how to divide them, figuring out what's going on and just doing it that way. The thing I've got very good at over the course of 25 years is the warfare part of it, like the courtroom. So the people that come to me now tend to be people that have that kind of a complex case. Yeah. And they need someone who knows how to do that particular set of skills, which is why I have all of these amusing anecdotes of like chaos. But the truth is, like, the majority of divorce lawyers, it's really just about a negotiation. It's about trying to sort of, work with people in a way that doesn't amp up the conflict.
Yeah, 56.
Isn't it crazy? Like, if you're married, I think the divorce laws need to change, because there's no way that if you come in with a lot, whoever it is, the other person gets a big chunk of whatever you had before they came. I can understand while you're married. I can understand if y'all built something, or if she was a stay-at-home wife. Now that you could even be a stay-at-home husband. It gotta make sense. It's not just one-sided or somebody taking half of whatever your net worth is. I've seen men that lost their pension, which is crazy. It was a dude with his pension, and he had this pension. I believe he was like a firefighter or something. I forgot where he worked at, but he had his pension before he even got married. He got married to a single mother. She took him to the cleaners and took like half his pension or something like that. On top of that, the pension that he put in, I forgot, it was like 10 plus, 15 plus years before he even met her. And then they was married for I think 5 years or something like that. She completely cleaned his ass out. That's wickedness.
6% of people get divorced. It can't be 56% warfare.
No, it's actually thankfully a really small percent.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
But the outliers, like, very few people can just like hold hands, sing Kumbaya, and like write it down and solve it. Very few people go to war. Yep. But you hear about the war because it's way more fucking interesting. Yeah. Like if I don't get invited to a lot of parties, but if I'm at a cocktail party and someone says, "What do you do?" I say, "I'm a divorce lawyer," and they're gonna go, "Oh my God, you must have stories." And if I said, "I do," there was this couple and they were married and then they slowly grew apart from each other. So they decided how they would like amicably resolve their differences financially, and they shared their time with the children. They'd be like, "That's the worst fucking story." Like they want to hear the like, "No," and then he took a chainsaw and he cut the car in half, and then he said, "Pick which half you want, bitch." Like that. True story, by the way.
No.
True story. Yeah.
What is your let's go there. What is your craziest divorce that you
Well, I mean, the guy who ran the lady over and stabbed her 16 times.
Yeah, fun crazy.
Yeah.
Fun crazy?
No, it doesn't have to be fun.
Yeah.
Just absolute insanity. You're involved in this case. You're like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah. I mean, I've had ones where like there's a lot of cash involved. So I had one where they over the years, guy was a dentist and he took a lot of cash. And what he used to do is he used to wad it up in like these round things and then fill tennis ball cans with cash. And then they had a jacuzzi in the backyard.
He was a goddamn drug dealer. There's no way you're a dentist and you filling up wads of cash in tennis ball things to keep it in the house. You was 100% a dealer.
And he lined the jacuzzi thing with these tennis ball cans. Wow. So there was like $800,000 of cash in the lining of the jacuzzi. And I actually had to bring in an expert to testify to the size of the jacuzzi and the size of how much could be held in the tennis cans to ascertain what the value of the money that he had then removed from the jacuzzi was.
He took it out.
Took it all out. And he was like, "What money? I don't know what you're talking about." There's no proof of it. You know? So that kind of stuff is like always an interesting, bizarre puzzle. But yeah, I mean, people are constantly cutting shit in half. I mean, the ones that shock me are the people who come in and and by the way, like Apple technology is responsible for more divorces than they
Yeah. That's real discovery right there.
Yeah, sorry, shots fired, Steve Jobs. I'm sorry, Tim Cook's gonna my iPhone's gonna stop working now. Love your products, don't do that to me, man. But the truth is, there's the whole integration of the different devices.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't realize, your fucking text messages are coming up on the iPad that your kid's playing with.
wow.
And then your wife. You're upstairs texting with the girlfriend about it was so great last night, and then the kid is bing, 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 and mom comes over what's going on? And they're like, I don't know, the cartoon stopped. And mom's like, what is this? And all of a sudden there's naked pictures of the girlfriend. And she's reading in real time. And this happens once a week, I get one of those cases.
Okay, question about that. Do you think those people are just at the point where they're okay getting caught? Because that seems so foolish.
Yeah, I ask myself that question a lot because sometimes people are so brazen
that it's just
you kind of go,
on some level, subconsciously.
Yeah,
you're like,
subconsciously.
They're just cowards. They can't end it, and they're like, I just need some. If something does happen where it does end, I'm okay with it. But I don't.
Quiet quitting.
Exactly. A lot of guys do that, right? Because you have to really think about that. Guys will probably stay inside of a bad situation, and women will probably leave. And they say that women are better cheaters than men. I don't really think so. I think that they get the benefit of the doubt. And if a woman gets the benefit of the doubt, then guys just don't look. And the guy's just like, all right, I don't think she would do that. Or I just don't want to know if she actually did that because that's going to hurt him in a deeper level. So he really just doesn't look. While she thinks no matter what he does, he did something. And so if you're checking all day, even a broken clock is right twice a day. So if you're going to keep on going and looking for something, you're probably going to find something down the line. She's been checking it for 3 years. In the 4th year, she found something. And I knew you've been doing this. Well, you check every day, and I never checked hers. I bet you when they reverse it, when you see those pranks where they say the couple swap the phone, then you see the guy be like, all right, and then the woman be like, nah, not now. I'm like, gotcha.
Yeah, I think a lot of them feel, Patrice O'Neill had a thing he used to say about
Won me over, right?
He had a great thing about how he said, cheating, if you think about it, is a man. A man is leaving his home to get some happiness without hurting your feelings.
Go to fuck a girl behind a dumpster.
Right.
To get a little bit of happiness.
So I think a lot of these
without
guys,
hurting your
feelings.
Cheating is for you.
Yeah, for you. Yeah, and I remember hearing that and going but when you spend enough time with people who've cheated.
Yeah.
That's legit how they're like, look, I love her.
Yeah.
I love her. But we don't have that anymore. Yeah. We have this, we're running a daycare center together. Yeah. And I love her. I like coming home to her. I like her mom. I like her brother. We all get along. I like all the stuff we do. I like our home. I like our life. But I want to fuck sometimes.
Yeah.
And I don't need, I had a friend who once said to me,
prostitution, dude.
The moment you know you're in a relationship is when you're in the middle of sex and you think, one of these days I've got to get laid.
That's crazy.
And I think that most married men do not acknowledge that this is correct.
No, it's a bit.
It's a bit.
Yeah.
Most married men will go, oh yeah, okay. I kind of get that. The difference, because again, I think there is something really true about you can't, some of the freaky shit you want to do in your head, blame Pornhub, it's on everybody's heads. You're not going to do that with a person that then you'll be like, okay, so which of us is going to bathe the kids now? You're not going to do that. So I think men sometimes move away from that kind of a connection with their spouse. And then they say, look, I don't want to hurt her. I don't want to lose my family. I want to chase this shiny object. And by the way, look at how many half-naked women we are exposed to on a daily basis thanks to Instagram and TikTok and everything else.
So it's our fault, really. We have to keep degrading the women we love.
I don't think that's bad advice. So insofar as they at some point enjoyed that, yes. If you started out that way and then you said, she might secretly be like, why don't you like a filthy slut anymore? I'm also a mom, but I'm also a filthy slut.
Yeah, I'm both. We can be both.
You can be both. I think you probably.
So Mark, that's why our parents are still married.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is, bro.
Yeah, my dad didn't know what the gimp costume in the basement.
There's no Madonna whore complex. You gotta just put them together.
Your parents got 8 kids. I could have told you they were doing some wild.
My dad always makes this comment. We'll be at dinner. He's like, Amanda, you still got that nurse outfit? And everyone's like, Dad, wow. He's like, I'm joking.
That's awesome.
That's interesting.
But cheating is one of those things. I joke that I've got a PhD in cheating because you listen to people who've been cheated on, you listen to people who've done the cheating, but the people that I'm shocked by are the people that they know their spouse is cheating. They had one of those iMessage moments, or they the cameras catch stuff, all the little Nest cams, security cams, the baby cams, nanny cams, catch stuff. And they don't let the spouse know that they know it. And they're 3-4 months in to I've watched this person having sex with their mistress on the nanny cam.
Oh, Jesus.
And I'm still sitting across the table from them. And I find myself thinking, like, how the fuck do you keep that?
Yeah, you're the
calm?
sociopath.
I know
actually.
why.
I mean,
I
it
see
feels
why
a
that
little
person
like
cheated.
that.
Yeah,
Like, you
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
go, how are you not like just losing your shit on this person at all? You know, but people can
And
do
why
it.
do you think it was
Kids
that?
usually are.
I'm gonna go before him. I think women, especially if it's a woman, if it's a woman doing that, it's because they'll load that shit up. It's like a gun. They're gonna load it up because the day they want to shoot, they're gonna shoot, and they'll load it up. Also, that's one part. Second part, women could compartmentalize that because the value of men is not who you sleeping with, who you don't sleep with. Men value sexuality that much. Women don't really value sexuality to the extent that men do. So a woman could be with a guy that takes care of her. It's a big burden on a man to keep a woman. So if he kept her for some years, that means he was doing something right. So that's a big burden. And then for her to pick up and go with somebody else that's going to do the same exact thing 9 times out of 10, go sleep around, and then lose all the benefits that she get from this guy, she's probably not going to do that. That's why. So therefore, she can compartmentalize that because it's not that deep to her because he has to bring value somewhere else. But if a woman does that to a man, it's like, damn, Jesus. I don't even ask for that much. I do all of this and then you go do that. You basically giving somebody my most prized possession for free. Like I do all of this. I done married you, had kids, I done paid for everything. And all he had to do is say hi. Get the out of here.
I think it's I don't know. I think it's a combination of like if they say it out loud, it's real.
Yeah.
And I think
They're in
just-
denial.
Yeah. Sometimes people come into my office and like they have a very
You can't be in denial if you've seen him plowing the nanny on the camera. There's no such thing as denial after that.
very hard time. There's tissues on like every desk because people just they having to say it out loud. You know, having to like say out loud like yeah, this thing's broken. You know.
Yeah, you also see why like sometimes it's forgivable for people. Like I think sometimes when you're like young and in a relationship and you don't have like children or anything like that, and there's like a cheating thing, it's like the one thing you can't do. It's like
well, I got to tell you, we're in modern society. Like what I will tell you is a lot more people come back from cheating than you'll ever know.
So yeah, I'm interested to talk about that, not for personal reasons at all. No, nothing to do with that. But yeah, I feel like when you have X amount of kids, you have homes, you have a life that you guys all enjoy, and then the husband does some. When the wife does it, I bet the dads are like, "Fuck this, it's fucking over." But when the husband does some shit, I wonder if some of the wives are like, "Ugh, does he not have a relationship with her? Is it a one-time fucking thing?"
Well, it depends what the shit is.
Right.
It depends what you did.
Well, and the question.
Wait, what do you mean by that? What do you
Well,
mean
it
by that?
depends on the nature of the infidelity.
Yeah, if you get your dick sucked while you're on a trip with the boys or something like that, that's different than if you're fucking like her friend in the community. Because now
That's
you're
wild.
embarrassing her, and there's this whole.
Well, what I'll tell you is
I
the
think matter a lot.
the difference between men and women is when a woman gets caught cheating, the man's first question is, "Did you fuck him?"
Wow.
And the woman's first question is, "Do you love her?"
Do you love her?
Because that's the distinction. And I will tell you in my experience, and again, don't fucking pillory me for this one, guys. I didn't make up gender roles. I'm just observing what's sitting on the other side of the fucking desk.
Yeah.
But what I'm not talking about you guys. I mean the comments. The reality is that women are much more forgiving of those things because I think there is a part of them that goes, yeah, you're a fucking
You're a
idiot.
guy.
Like you're an idiot.
Yeah.
You're a guy. Like this
Yeah.
had nothing to do with me.
And
this
there's
has
so
to do
much
with
to
you.
lose.
Yeah.
That you losing so much.
Yeah.
Whereas a man allowing his wife to cheat,
Yeah.
he's lost his entire identity as a man.
But what's
I
hard
don't think
about
a woman loses
Yeah.
anything as a woman when we cheat because the expectation of us is we're a bunch of fucking idiots that
Yeah.
can't stop putting our dick and stuff.
Yep.
They spend the majority of their lives telling guys that they don't want to fuck them.
Yeah.
So when they do, you must have wanted that shit.
The problem I have
Real quick, Bill Maher I was doing this pod with Bill Maher. He had a funny idea. And he was like, I oftentimes hear female rappers say this thing like, "I'm gonna steal your man." Like, "I'm gonna steal your man," and it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
It's like that's
take
the
that
hardest.
dumpster fire.
How the hell you stole me? Like, it's the easiest thing in the world. That's a like hard task to do.
No, it's the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah. Stealing somebody's girl is tough because you're taking away from a life
Well,
you
that's
really
why.
love.
Right. That's why I've always said the whole thing of a hall pass.
Yeah.
Is the fucking dumbest deal in the world for men.
Yes.
Because like think about it.
Right.
If I say, you know, all right, with my girl, if I say to her like, all right, we each have a hall pass, and she goes, okay, mine's Bradley Cooper, and I say, okay, mine is I don't know, Angelina Jolie,
she can fuck
whatever. The chances of me, if I meet her in the first class lounge and I go, listen, just so you know, I have permission if you want to go have a little something. And, you know, But the chances of like a guy being like, you know, if she went, listen, I'm allowed to suck your dick right now, you'd be like, I got 10 minutes. It's never a good deal for the men.
Well, because we take a long.
It's never a good deal for the man. If you're a man and you give your girl a whole pass, you deserve the hurt that you got coming. It's stupid. It takes women. First of all, if she goes along with it, which I've seen so many women go along with the hall pass. A lot of women and a lot of guys giving these girls a hall pass and they regret that shit every single time. It's stupid. Even swingers. I heard so many stories that it's like it's ridiculous for you to give your girl a hall pass. You deserve all that stupidness that you get.
That's stupid. Use your
You just are
common
really.
sense.
I'm being ambitious, you know.
You got to pick
camera
someone,
setup. You know?
like a JetBlue flight attendant, and then some gay guy with tits, and you're just like, that's the one who I'm going to cheat.
Yeah, that's
with. Something
all
attainable.
Yeah. But it really is one of those things that I think with women, what I do feel bad for women about is the women who have been cheated on. They've said, okay, you know what? I'm going to look past this.
And
We
they
have
have to
family,
forget.
we have kids and stuff like that. No, what I actually feel bad is that how other women, they have to suffer in silence, because if they told any of the women in their life, I'm taking him back, they would be fucking excoriated. They would be destroyed. Like, you ever want to read vitriolic comments?
Yeah.
Any woman like who takes back a man who cheated on her, like Beyonce got way more shit than Jay-Z.
She had to put out a whole album.
Because it had, she had to like beat him up somehow to have some redemption.
Yeah.
And again, from other women. Because women were like, how dare you take him? Because it has
You're
to,
right.
she left him.
That's social
She'd have been the girl boss. She'd have been the, he has no right to do that.
Wouldn't that be the same for men though? If a girl cheats and a guy takes her back, wouldn't guys
Same
fucking
thing. Yeah, same thing. You get pilloried for it. Yeah, you kill it. So you have to suffer in silence. You have to not.
That's just stupid. But if Beyonce would have left, if Beyonce would have left Jay-Z, that would have just been stupid. Because unless she was like, I'd rather just be with myself for the rest of my life. The odds of you getting a guy that's not doing that. Jay-Z a little bit older now. So, he may be like chilling out. But come on. Like, seriously. Like, where are you going to go and to whom that's not going to do the same exact thing? And women, you need a connection with her and everything else. So it just, that doesn't even make no sense for her to leave Jay-Z in that situation. And the same women that's telling her that she should leave and girl boss this, that, is the same women getting kicked down the stairs by Tyrone and Pookie and all of them and taking them back. But they'll tell you to leave your man when he's actually a good dude. He just stepped out on you and he does everything for you. But you should leave. Oh, Movie Fair, how you doing, brother? Every time you come inside the chat, I gotta always give you, your kudos, my brother. Oh, Movie Fair 1973 is in here. Oh, Movie Fair 1973 says marriage and birth rates will continue to drop until laws and culture change. No man finds it worth it. Wow, it's true. Guys do not find marriage and stuff worth their while. It's funny who I was looking at earlier. The marriage and birth rates of old, especially for black people, it was once upon a time that black people was the most married. This is under Jim Crow. This is prior 1965. The most married in America, which it was unheard of to see a black family without them being married. And if a black woman got pregnant, it was Jesse Lee Peterson was talking. And if a black woman got pregnant, they had to have like a shotgun wedding, because there's no way, like, if you get her pregnant, you got to marry her now. So that was like your token to marriage, right? So it's like, all right, that's when you have families and you have kids. I was out, and when you see families and kids, it's like the safest, best place ever. As soon as you start getting single people out, if you have one community with families where it's a husband, wife, children, or even long-term couples, was a man, woman, children, and they're just out and about, that community will be beautiful. It'd be minor things here and there with a little bit couples, but for the vast majority of it, it's going to be beautiful. If you go to the other side and you have single people, single men, single women, and whatever kids pop out of that, just pop out of that. It's going to be terrible all the way throughout the line. It's nothing coming out good. It's going to be a lot of baby daddies. It's going to be a lot of drama. It's going to be a lot of fights. It's going to be a lot of chaos. It's just be stupid. And movie fair, most married and reported most happiness in the marriage. You said most married, most men? Old movie fan? What do you mean by that? Oh, you're talking about the black people. They were the most married and reported the most happiness in the marriage. Yeah. It's probably true. As I'm trying to say, like, these things are like, marriage and being with somebody is an important thing and is an amazing thing. I don't know why people downgrade it. It's actually a good thing. I just think marriage for men nowadays, because like you said, old movie fan, the birth rates and the courts, it's going to keep on going. It's not in men's favor, right? So it's just stupid. The destruction of nuclear family has destroyed the society. 100%. And then as soon as they destroyed the nuclear family, but they destroyed the nuclear family to bring up the money. Because by just bringing women in the workforce, you just doubled the workforce. You just double taxes, you just doubled everything. So now one man could have 6 kids and take care of all his 6 kids and his wife on one salary. Now, instead of selling the house to one family, you got a man and a woman separate, a single woman, a single man. Now you can sell 2 houses. So now you just doubled everything. And then you have a whole bunch of babies and baby daddies and all that stuff like that. You just take the money from the men. And then a lot of the states take a bulk of that child support money. So it's like, you have to think about, like, it's more of a business to have people not together. We don't need them to be together anymore. We need them to make money. You need like little robots and machines. That's sad.
Tell people that this happened, which, by the way, it is a hard thing for people to come back from, rebuild trust from. People do it all the time. People do it all the time. And usually what it is, they come into my office, they're like, I want to kill him, I want him out, I want to file tomorrow. And I have done this long enough that I'll go, okay, listen, if we want to do it, and on Monday we'll still do it. But this just happen.
hang out a
Let's
second.
take a breath.
Yeah.
Let's get our ducks in order. Let's, and usually a couple days later they'll call me and they'll say, you know what, we talked and we're going to go talk to someone, we're going to go to a counselor. And very often I never hear from that person again. And I think that they figure out a way to navigate it.
Do kids make a difference?
Yeah. Kids make huge.
Massive.
Yeah.
difference.
You have, I mean, look, you have a tremendous reason to keep it together if you have children. I mean, you're fully going, in best case scenario, you're going to lose a huge chunk of time with your children. You're going to lose the support of a co-parent. I mean, it's difficult to raise a child with 2 people. It's difficult to do with one person. It's incredible.
It's almost impossible.
Yeah.
Dude. It's like, unless you have help, I can't believe it.
Yeah, it's very challenging. So I think that people have, the more skin you have in the game, like that's why I always say, like, the ultra people say, like, oh, it must be really hard representing like super wealthy people. I'm like, no, they have enough money to buy another fucking house and another apartment and another place in the Hamptons. So they each have one. Yeah. And they have nannies that travel between both places. So there's stability for the kids.
Sometimes they keep the kid in the same house and the parents.
Nesting.
Yeah.
Nesting. The parents, the kids.
Oh, movie fan, I see you, man. I appreciate you for being here, man. Thank you. I see you next time, brother.
Have the nest.
So the kids never have to leave, which is a really
the
awesome
parents each
scenario.
get an
like that.
apartment and they kind of come back and forth with the kids. And,
Oh, wow.
look, we
But
don't
that's
know.
like a huge privilege. How many people can own
Very
free
few
home?
people.
Like it's
Very few.
but that is probably the best for the children because now they're not packing a bag literally every single
Yeah.
week.
You know what I'll
Thanks
tell
for
you
the
is,
donation too. I didn't
we
even
don't-
see that, old movie fan. If you're still here, I appreciate it. I appreciate the donation. You always donating to the channel. Let's give you a $1 Marco for that. I didn't even know. I just seen it.
Don DeMarco.
we discovered water, but it probably wasn't a fish.
Yeah.
Like when a kid grows up in an environment where mom was here, dad was here, and I spent time with each, that's just all they know. Like, okay, that's how it was. Like when a kid's 10, 11, 12, and suddenly mom and dad who were living together are living in different places, that's traumatic, that's challenging. But if you're if you're a 2-year-old, and now it's like, okay, dad lives here, mom lives here, and I spent, when you ask that person when they're in high school, like, what was your childhood like? They'll say, like, well, I don't know, like, it was, I lived with mom sometimes, dad sometimes, I spent time with both of them. It's
also, if you
what it
grew up
was.
in like New York City where, divorce is pretty popular, it's probably easier for you to do. But I agree with you, like the kids can be absolutely destroyed if it happens when they're a little bit older, a little bit smarter and aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of divorce where the kids are kind of being used as like a leverage tool. That's really fucked up. Is there ever a time where you like step in, you go, why are we
I try to
punishing
do
the
that a
kids?
lot. I mean, what I always say is that the person who cares less about the children has tactical advantage in a custody proceeding.
Wow.
In the same way that a bank robber has tactical advantage over the cops because they can shoot innocent bystanders. Like the cops can't just spray with a machine gun and hope they'll hit one of the robbers.
Yeah.
But robbers can just spray and hope they hit the cops. Like they can run over the sidewalk.
So
whereas
how
cops
would
can't
that,
do
how would that work in the court proceeding, for example?
You
The
know,
person who kidnaps-
by insidiously alienating a child from their co-parent, by injecting into the child like a dislike or a fear of your co-parent so that you get custody. I mean, by the way, most of the time this isn't just done as a vindictive thing, it's also done for financial reasons. Because if you have the children more than 50% of the time, you get child support. And that's a big chunk of money. New York State, one kid's 17% of your gross income less FICA, 2 kids is 25%, 3 kids 29%, 4 kids 31%. So
damn.
like of your gross income.
God
Think about
damn.
that.
They taking that much money away from you? Hold on, rewind that. Bring that back.
It's also done for financial reasons, because if you have the children more than 50% of the time, you get child support. And that's a big chunk of money. New York State, one kid, 17% of your gross income less FICA, 2 kids is 25%, 3 kids, 29%, 4 kids, 31%. So, like,
Imagine well, you shouldn't be having that much goddamn kids, but god damn, that 30. At that point, you just working for them. And then the sad part is, if it's a little bit more, you still have to take care of your kids. It's not like you give the mother the money and then now everything is covered for the kids. No, you give her that money and then you still have to come and take care of your kids. You're still buying them things. You still have to take care of them financially. So you're taking care of them financially automatically with whatever 25, whatever plus percent, plus the extra you got to give. So half plus your money is just what you're going to have to kick out. That's crazy.
like the of your gross income.
Think about that.
is what you're
Before
paying in
taxes.
child support.
Oh yeah, and then if it's your gross income, that's before taxes. God damn. Before taxes. So So if you make 100,000, let's say if you had the 2 kids, you make 100,000 before taxes, you already out 25K. That's crazy. That's crazy.
If you're spending 50% of taxes, like say you're some rich person, 31% is going to your wife and the children.
If you got 4 kids.
If you got 4 kids, and only if she gets them 51% of the time.
Right.
You still got to provide for your life.
It'd be a lot cheaper to
say.
just hire a nanny and fight for custody. And that's what ends up happening.
And there's alimony that goes along with that?
There can be spousal support that goes along with that.
But think about it. So if it goes to 50% and you hire the nanny, at 51% to 50%, there's no real difference in the amount that you're going to see your children. But the difference in the amount that you're giving to that woman,
massive,
who now you hate and hates you. Wow.
Yeah. And by the way, there's no one like doing an accounting to make sure it's spent on the kids.
That's the
so
other
like
thing
sometimes it's like that was meant to be for the kids and it was used for the tit job, or it was used for like sex toys with the new boyfriend.
Wow.
And how is that decided who gets custody?
In New York, we have what's called the best interest standard, but most states have some variation of that, and it's as subjective and crazy as you think it is. Like it really is full contact storytelling. Like you go in as a lawyer and you just have to try to tell the story of why your client is stable, consistent, reliable, and a good parent, and why the other side is less than. And why
This may be a New York thing, but I always hear that the mother always gets the custody.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty common misconception, and I understand why people say that, because I think women fight much harder for custody than men do, and I'll tell you why. Like, and I probably don't even need to, but I'll point out why. If you and I, all right, if we meet in real life, we're just out in a bar, and you say to me, so Jim, tell me about yourself. And I say, well, you know, I'm a lawyer, I'm divorced, I have my kids, they live with their mom. Every other weekend I have them. You'd go, oh, divorced dad, nice guy probably. You know? I'm a woman.
You don't have those kids?
I have 2 kids. They live with their dad. I see them every day. What the fuck is wrong with her?
Social
drugs, mental health. And by the way, like, I mean, go on Instagram, hashtag mom life. Like, believe me, like I've represented some co-parents of celebrities that like these people are opioided out of their minds. But when it's time to take that kid out like a Birkin bag, you know, they bring them out and they're like, I'm a mom. And then they're like back to, all right, take this fucking kid away, you know, and they could care less. But it's optics, you know, whereas for a man, if you go, yeah, the kids live with their mom, people go, oh yeah, well, of course the kids live with their mom. So that's where I think that comes from. But the truth is, like, men get custody all the time. The maternal presumption was eradicated years ago. There used to be something called what was called the tender years doctrine, which was if a child was under the age of 7,
you let the mom
mom automatically got custody unless you could show she was an unfit mother. That was eradicated in the 1980s. But
I still see unfit mothers with kids. I seen grandkids get their kids over the father, and I seen that happen multiple times. She would have to like they'll try to get her sober before they give her to the good dad. That's crazy.
You know, some of the judges like have been around since then, so they remember that. And judges are human. Like judges are people, so they have the same bias as anybody else has. So sometimes the judge is a divorced dad who's like, dads are just as good as moms. What the fuck? Sometimes they're a pissed off ex-wife of somebody, and they're like, fuck that guy, because they're taking out. You know, these are humans.
All right, guys, we're gonna take a break for a second.
That happened with this. That happens with this guy. If y'all ever seen the story with what's his face? Jesus Christ, breakdancing dad.
He'd actually done work on my house. And I remember thinking, because I was married at the time, I remember thinking my ex-wife secretly wanted to fuck him. Because he was like this big dude, work boots, the whole thing. So one day he calls me up and
he loves renovation.
He calls me.
He's an interior decorator, but it doesn't matter.
It's a fixer-upper.
He made some significant changes. He calls me up one day and says, can I come in and talk to you? And I said, yeah, sure. And I knew he was married and he had 2 very young kids. So he comes in, I'm like, oh shit, he's probably having marital problems. Comes into my office, I said, what's going on? He says, look, I think we're splitting up. And I said, oh man, I'm sorry to hear it. I said, what's going on? And he goes, well, I've decided I want to live my life as a woman. I was like, wait, excuse me? Like, this is 20 years ago. Like, this is not part of, like, the cadence, you know? This wasn't a thing. And this was not the dude you would think. Like, there was nothing feminine about this guy. Like, I was way more feminine than this guy. And he was like, yeah, you know, I've always felt this way. And he did. Sure enough, he transitioned pretty quickly. And like many people who transition, initially, he looked like a guy wearing a wig. And like, he looked like a dude who was, you know, he'd started hormones. And when we went to court, the judge actually issued a temporary decision saying that he was allowed to see his kids as long as he dressed like a man when he saw his kids. Now, if the judge did that now, they'd be thrown off the bench and possibly jailed for a hate crime. But back then, that was considered a perfectly acceptable resolution. Funny PS to that story, by the way. 10 years later, I'm walking into the courthouse and I'm standing there talking to one of my colleagues, and I look off to the far left and I see a very attractive woman staring at me. And I'm thinking, like, you still got it, Sexton. Look at this, you know, it's the tie. And she's just smiling at me. So I'm like, do I know her? This is weird. So I finish this conversation. I kind of do the peacocking thing where I'm like, all right, man, catch you later. And I'm like, I'm going to walk past her. So I walk up, very cute. I said, hey, how you doing? And she goes, good, how you doing? I go, good. She goes, you don't remember me? And I said, I'm sorry, I don't. I would think I would. And she goes, it's me, Amy. And I was like, Amy? And she goes, Andy? And I went, Holy shit! It was that person. It was that person with 10 years of hormones and a bunch of other things.
Being
Like,
hot as both genders seems unfair.
it really does.
Yeah.
It really, and by the way,
Be
like,
allowed.
could do great home renovations.
Yeah.
Like,
Hey, yo, the Amy could do great home renovations. God damn. What in the ditty is going on here? God damn.
that's fucked up. Where a person comes to the marriage, they have a tremendous amount
Yes,
of assets.
I wanna talk about that,
And
yeah.
they say, look,
There's 3 different girls that make up
I'm
this girl
watching
group. It's phenomenal, and each is an archetype of a woman
Yeah,
at
I'm
that
watching
age.
it. I'm
But
loving
one of them is paying child support or alimony. But it is really interesting to see her reaction to it and how her friends react.
They hate it.
Yes. Okay, so can you explain, 1, what is alimony? And 2, what is like the steelman argument for it? Like, give me the,
Yeah.
not like,
Yeah.
oh, this sucks,
Yeah.
but
All
what
right,
is
get
the
outta here.
best case scenario?
yeah.
It's the end of this stream.